Okay, fine. So let me start recording. Yeah. So we were talking about different features which we have, building blocks what we had and all, right? So that was what. So today we first we'll just see. On that day we created one sample project of my first, right?
Yeah.
So let us see different components first. It's very important to know what are different components of project we have, right? It will be almost same even if you are using your Eclipse or NetBeans or JDeveloper or any editor, right? Few things will be same for Android, right? So this
Right.
project, hierarchy should be maintained across, right? Maybe, but mostly if you are going for any corporation for Android development, right? Almost you'll be using mostly Eclipse itself because it is something which is recommended for development. But yes, if people are using NetBeans for their web development, right, they may continue with that because they'll be comfortable with that and they may continue even for Android development. But that doesn't matter. Configuration part, everything will be same as it is, right? That's right. Okay, so let's first see the project contents which we have. The first folder which we have is source, right? So I hope you know this source folder. This is same as the folder which we had in Java, right?
Yeah.
So this folder is mainly intended to create all your classes, divide your classes, create different packages, right?
Right.
Connect those classes and all, right? And you can actually create those classes which you want to connect to web services, right? All those things can be created inside your source, right? It acts the same as Java. You can create multiple packages, and under my packages you can create multiple classes, right?
Right.
But there is only one thing which you have to make sure is for each and every activity, right? So as I said, each and every form or page which we normally talk about in Java, right, is an activity in Android, right? So for each activity, there should be some back code, right, which we have to write until unless we join that with some code, right? We can
Right.
actually move on with working, right? The same as like if you take an example of servlet, we completely write servlet as a Java code, but we basically write some HTML code. We basically use print writer or something to show up the data. In the same way, in JSPs you may be using scriptlet or any declarative or anything to show something, but backup code may be in a scriptlet or a servlet or a class, right? In the same way, we also do have a provision here. But yes, you cannot write any of the code in your activity. You have to write each and every piece of code in the corresponding class of an activity. Right? We'll go to that.
Okay.
We'll understand how we can connect to that. If you're using the previous versions of at least before 15th version of Android, right? Those connectivities you have to do manually because the support was not provided at those level of APIs, right? But yes, the latest APIs, they themselves will create an activity, corresponding class will be created parallelly. That is how everything happens actually. So here you have to mostly concentrate on your UI development and coding. That's it. You don't have to worry about whether configuration file is filled up. So many things are there, right? You don't have to worry about that in this at least later than 15th API, right? You're using the latest one. Yes, you have got all the features being working parallel, right? That's what it is. So it is same as like I hope you know how servlets works, right? If you take an example of servlets of web module, I hope you know this because here it's very important to know that. That is like creating any dynamic web project. I hope you know about this thing, right?
Yeah.
But this is the heart of your web application. So you know what is the version of what actually we are defining here, 2.2 or 2.3 or 2.5. So this is nothing but the servlet version. The latest version going on is servlet is 3, right? So if you select 3.0, right, the configuration file will be generated in different way. If you select 2.5, it will be in different way, right? That happens actually. But legacy, so many people even now, which is standard one is being used is 2.5 because you can actually monitor everything using your web.xml, right? Same way, even this happens, right?
Right.
So even those classes will be created in your packages under your source system. Right? We'll see how we can actually connect these two and all. Right? So that is about what we have something called source, right?
Right.
And yeah, any doubt?
No, no, Srinath.
Fine, fine.
All good.
Perfect. No. Now next folder is gen folder. So this is something which is completely, we call it as, these files will be created on fly, right? So even this is something which is being taken care by Eclipse itself. So under your gen folder is nothing but generated Java files. Whatever controls here or views, whatever you create, right, corresponding to that corresponding IDs will be registered with something called r.java. R is nothing but resource. This R
Okay.
file is called as the resource file, right? So for now, just understand that whatever controls you are using, so let us take an activity first. Here you can see this is something called text view. Like we have something called label. Label in web application is text view in Android, right?
Text. Okay.
Right? So this text view, if you go to XML view, so for each activity you will be having two views, right? One is a graphical view where you can actually see, right, the graphical part, and if you go to activity.xml part, right, here there is something where you can see the complete XML form of that, right?
Right.
So under this layouts, we'll be learning what are the different layouts and how to work on that, right? We will actually have something called views, right? So this is something called one control called text view, one view.
Okay.
Corresponding to that, whatever ID you create, right, it will be added over here. Now as of now you can see there is only one ID, right? So this R class is something which is a collection of different classes. There are different classes like ID, layout, menu, string. You'll understand what exactly these things are when we actually go into multiple topics, right? I'll show you that when how we actually work. Yeah.
Is R the superclass, we can say?
R is something which is like, it's a set, it's a superset, not superclass. It's a superset where all the different classes will be embedded into this. And this is something which is auto-generated. Let me show you one thing. You can see in ID, right, there is only one attribute, right? Let me go and create an ID for this. It's very easy. I'll explain you how we can actually create. So let me just give how I can txt. Let us say I'm giving first app something, right? So I just saved it. If you go back here, you can see it will automatically create that, right? So your R.java will be, whenever you rebuild your application, right, your these files will be deleted and these things will be created afresh. That's what happens. So you don't have to worry much about this R.java. But only thing is, if you are using some API level, which is again before 15, right, sometimes your Eclipse will not add control IDs here. Right? Then what you have to do is you have to, whatever you a view you are adding here, you have to make sure that even that is in your R.java, right, which is resources Java. Right? So that's how it happens. So you'll be familiar with this because this is something which you'll be using across each and every class, right? Don't worry about it. That is something which is R.java. Right? Where all your IDs, all your drawables, all your styles, all your strings. The style is something which we have same as CSS, right? We have some CSS if you take a JSP example, right? Yep.
Yeah.
You have a CSS, no, this is not script, it's a styling sheet, right? Where you will be mentioning all your styles which will be directly applied. And CSS is something which doesn't need a build. You don't have to build the CSS. It's a simple XML type of file. Same is here.
Right.
We can create some files which are XML files. I'll show you this, where you can actually give some styles and all. We'll be going through even that class, right? Don't worry about that.
Yeah. Srinath,
Yeah.
all these things are declared as static final integer. Is there any particular reason?
Yeah, because whenever the reason is, let us say you have a control here, right? This is one activity. The basic reason why this R.1, this resource file is generated is, right? So you have this activity. Let us say you have 4 different activities, right? If you want to access one of the view from one activity to, let us say, third activity, the only way how you can access is through this, right? Automatically what happens is this ID, right? You can access this ID directly from some other. Now, why do we define static keys? We are not making these class variables as an object variable, so that we can directly access a variable from my class name. So this is called as a class variable. That's why all your control IDs will be a class variable inside your resources file.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we have made static. And hope you know why we have made final. Because anytime once we move on from this activity to some other activity, I don't want to change any of the IDs or anything, right? That's why we have this.
Right.
Now you can see there is some ID pin inside. This is called as an address. Address of the view, right? This address will be unique across all the components, right?
Okay.
So based on this,
It's unique across. Okay.
yeah, it will
But
be
unique to that particular field itself, right?
unique to this particular class as such.
Okay.
Right? I can have what is that? You said something unique to? Unique to all you are
To
saying?
the particular field, I mean, particular component on the URL.
Exactly, unique to particular component as such, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
And that's always like that is the auto-generated number, which is always integer. That's why.
It will be auto-generated.
Okay.
Yeah. It will be auto-generated, and whenever you change anything, right, it will get automatically changed over there also,
Okay.
right? You don't have to edit. Like I say, I'm just saying txt app, right? So now if you go back, you can see that it's only txt first app, right? Now save it up.
Yeah.
Now if you save, right, you can see it got deleted and generated again. You can see txt.
Right.
Because in Eclipse, right, if you make this option true, build automatically, right, which means if you save, automatically all your classes will be rebuilt, right? It will recompile. So that's why you can get this, right? So that is the reason why you got this. So that is something which is our data, and this builder config is also the same. Whether I hope you know this one, which is debug true or false, right? We always develop something keeping debug as true. Whenever you move on your application to production, right, you make debug false because we have to release a product in release mode, right? I hope you know the difference between debug mode and release mode, right? We always use.
Not actually. I mean. I'm
Okay,
not very sure.
I'll tell you that, right? So debug mode is something, right? So where some of your components in your application will be enabled, for like logging, your bug logging, which application will take care of, framework, JVM will take care of that, or something like, in console more specific things will be shown, right? So these things will make your application heavy while running, right? So what we'll be doing is, whenever you make it false, which means you are actually making your complete application as a release mode. The mode release is common across all softwares, which means you are actually allowing few components to work, and whatever components you don't want, right, your application will take care of that. That is the difference between your release mode and debug mode.
Alright.
Right? So in this, in Java application search, we have to make the flags and all, right? You have to make these flags. But if you're familiar with .NET, right, the release and debug will be given straightforward. It will be given straight. I'll show you that. Anyways, let it open and show you that. Okay. So that is something which is in build config. Even this part is something which is auto-generated file. You don't have to modify it up, right? Even this is something which is again an auto-generated file. Right? If you modify anything, right? If you see, it will ask you whether you want to modify. If you say yes, again it will see, again it changes back. I just modified something and I saved it, again it changed. Because what happens it actually recompiles everything and it knows that, okay, this is not the thing, and revamp that. That's what happens, right?
Okay.
So this is my document.
You cannot modify anything long. That is, don't allow us to modify.
Exactly, it won't allow. It will allow you to add something, because if add something in the sense, you have to compile it and make sure you are adding it. Right? You cannot do any manual touch up in this, right? That's what happens.
Right.
Even if you do something right, it will be deleted. Once you rebuild your project, right, these files will be deleted and a fresh copy of that will be generated. That's what happens. See here, let me just delete this part. Okay, I've deleted it, right? See, I've saved it. Again, it will compare. I'll delete it, save it up. Oops. It will limit. So that's what there is no use in, even if you are doing
No.
something, right? That's what happens.
Right.
That's what it says, modified and generated something, right?
Okay.
So that is your return. Now here you can see in dotted, right, they'll give directly, right? There will be a debug mode or release mode.
Oh, okay.
Right? You can have direct mode, but always, we develop in debug mode. And if you feel that this have to go back, and you go to release mode. That's what it happens, right?
Okay.
Right? So that is, I just wanted to show that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is about your gen file, which is a auto-generated files. Now, this Android 4.2. This API, right? This is the main API, which is Android jar, right? So it comes up with a, by default it comes up with whenever you create any project, right? Every project will create this part. I hope you know something about whenever you create any dynamic project or any Java project, right? Corresponding libraries will be added. These three are same as that, right? These three private libraries, if there are any Android dependencies, these are something. So these are supporting, Android jar files will be added up to your Eclipse.
Right.
That is, those things are these three, right? And then you have something called assets. Now this assets is same as if you want to save any file, or if you want to create any local DB, you don't need any DB actually, or any video, right? Or anything like third party jar, you want to make it as an asset to this, right? If you want to use, so those things can be used in this folder. Or you also have this folder where you can actually, if you have any third party jar, you can copy away. Let us say from this Android app, right? You want to connect to any remote Oracle database, let us say. I'm just taking an example, right? So you may need some JDBC API, right? You want to connect, right? You can use the same OJDBC API even in Android to connect to a database. You can do that, right? So those APIs will be, copying over here, which is libs. Right? This is the first part. Or what you can do, maybe you can just go to the project, which is properties, right? In these properties, you always have this, right? Build path. I hope you will be familiar with this.
Yes.
In this build path, you can actually add over here also.
Libraries, add jars, external jars.
Both are same, right? You can add everywhere. Right? That is your libs. And this bin is something which is very important folder again. This is same as something which we already have seen this. You have seen this in Java.
Java, right?
Yeah. All your classes. Let me just open that once. Android. So here, in my first, right? So I'm just opening this because I want to show you something here. Now here, right? You can see in bin, right? All the classes are created. So this class, as I have got one class which I have created, is main.activity, right? It got created.
Right.
And you can see different versions of R got created here. R for style, R for string, R for ID, right? There are so many internal classes, right? So for those classes, they got created. Can you see this? That is what is it's a normal Java, pattern there. If there is any class inside a class, right? It will create a class first, dollar inside class, dot class. I hope you know this, right?
Yes.
So that is what is all these things, right? It will be represented whenever you actually create or rebuild your project, right?
Right.
So that's what happens. That is something which is a classes folder. And sorry. And then you have something called resources, right? This RES is something where if you create any videos or if you want to create any images, setup and all, right? So those setup things will be done here. As of now, as we are not moving on to the higher thing, right? So this is something. I'll show you this part when we actually move on to some media broadcasting in Android, right?
Okay.
But as of now, this resource is something. Now here you can see here this resource folder, right? RES folder. So if you create anything which has to be copied into this bin, right? So those things will be automatically copied into this resource, right? We'll get into that when we actually create that part, okay?
Okay.
And there are few more files. Let me run this once. I have to show something. One more thing. So when I run this, right, you can see here now. In this build, can you see there are some more files being created. One is Dex for libs, right?
Yeah.
Let me just, what I have done is, so I'll show you something here which is very peculiar thing of Android. Now you can see here, when I rebuild this project, right, this is something which is APK. Just remember this. This myfiles.apk is something which is an actual package file. You can just take it up and install in your PC. I mean, in your mobile it will work as you want, right?
Right.
If I rebuild this project, right, you can see all the files will be deleted, right? But in normal Java, what happens is, yeah. So in normal Java, what happens is, whenever you rebuild your project, right, what happens? All your classes and everything will be recompiled and built, right? That's what happens. So when I just say clean and OK, right, all the files will be, deleted and will be created again. That's what happens, right? Right? But here in Android, right, whenever you go to, if you want any APK file, you can create in so many ways. And normal way how we actually get the APKs is to get a live APK. Whenever I just say run, right, whenever I run this, it automatically creates APK, right? It rebuilds everything APK. Now you can see here it is uploading this so and so part, and that I have shown you that it is uploading into my device, right?
Yes.
And then it is installing. This is something my first APK. If this APK is corrupted, right, it will not run. That's what happens.
Okay.
Okay. So this is a place where your APK file will be created, which is under bin. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. Now you can see that as we are running this part, right, even in your Eclipse, you can see even your APK files got created. Right?
Okay. So if the APK file doesn't get installed on the emulator, so I mean, if even there are no errors, then what can be the reason? I mean, I faced this problem once.
No, if your emulator is slow, right? If your emulator is slow, or your APK file is so big enough, you can see it's a small, right? As you grow with your application, right? If you have more videos, if you have more images which are very heavy videos, right? Then your APK file will become heavy. Then at that time, what happens is sometimes your emulator is something which is like a complete virtual thing running, right? Which means over the internal network, it has to transfer your file from some directory to your virtual memory. So that may take time. And second thing is your emulator. Once your emulator is started, right? So if your emulator is started, then it's fine because your virtual mobile is started. Then copy will be easy. But whenever you are starting your emulator for first time, the first time may fail.
Take time.
Yeah, it may take time and it may fail because it will be looking for something to upload, and your mobile is not ready to accept that, right? It will just take for some time and then say fail to upload or fail to start anything. It may fail at any point. At that time, what you have to do is again run it again, right? Then what happens? It may take the same instance of your emulator or create a new window of emulator, and it will actually work on that. That's what happens.
Okay.
Because your ADB has to start before actually getting the files into your virtual machine, right?
Yeah.
So that is what is all about your bin, right? Now I'll explain this manifest phenomenon. Right, this manifest, all these things, whatever is needed, will be packaged in your bin, and everything will be in your APK, right? That's what.
Okay.
An APK is something which is Android application package, which is a package file in Android. Remember, APK is the only file which we can get out of our Android project, nothing else, right?
Okay.
In Java, we have so many. We have jar, var, EAR, right? We have zip files, direct tar files. There's so many things. But here, there is only one thing which will run, which is only APK files. Okay, that is what is. Now next one is libs. This is same as the libs folder which you have seen in Java, right? Which is used to add third-party jars, right? Or third-party classes, right? Or any API you can actually add in a lib. and if you want to connect it to connect this to your project, if you're using your Eclipse more than at least Indigo or Helios, right? Once you copy it in your lib, automatically this will be referred to your project. But in older Eclipse, what used to happen is, if you copy any jar into your lib, right, you have to copy it here physically, and then you have to go to properties in your build path, and you have to change the jar. It happens. Until unless you give jar here, right? It won't. But in your Juno, it will automatically take that. I've seen that the behavior. If you copy it here, automatically it will take this jar as a reference to your project. That's what happens. So that is something which is an Ellipse folder, which is same as you have seen. Now under this resource folder, right, this is RES folder, which is a very important folder which we have. What we will be doing, like styling or creating strings, creating activities, menus, right? Everything will come under your resource folder, RES folder, right? This folder structure should not be disturbed as such. And if you are disturbing anything, you have to make sure corresponding references have to be changed. So for that, I would suggest not to change anything in this. Don't disturb anything, because they have already provided some architecture which is very optimized in order to run your APK file, right? So for that, this architecture has to be maintained the same. You may feel that maybe I can create my activities in some other folder. You can create one more folder here, and you can create. Yes, you can do that, but don't do that. Right? I'll tell you which folders are to be maintained same. Right?
Okay.
Now, the first folder is drawable folder. All these things are same. All these folders are same. But yes, what is the difference here? So the main difference is the pixel gap, right? Sometimes if you are using this, if you are using this APK in a mobile phone, right, you may need a limited pixel size of image.
Right.
But if you are taking the same APK to your tab, there you have a bigger screen where you may need to have a bigger resolution of your picture. Right? So those things what Android has provided at Ocean is, you can actually classify your images. Right?
Okay.
If so, this DPI is nothing but density per inch, right? DPI. You have high DPI, low DPI, medium DPI, right? Density per inch. So what happens is, you can see here launcher icon have got so many. Same launcher icon is there, but they will be having different resolutions. That's the only difference. Right? Yes, it is true that you can actually maintain same images. It will automatically make your image compatible with either phone or a tab. You'll do that.
Okay.
But yes, it is always better to have these many. But you have to remember that if you are copying 4 different images, which means you are actually increasing the size of APK. Even that matters. If you know who is the person, who is the client you are targeting, if you are targeting people who will be using your application in a mobile phone, go for something which is either a medium or something lower than, right?
Okay.
In that way, right? But yes, all these file names are same, which means you don't have to worry about which file I have to use. Because internally, whenever you are using that, I won't be mentioning drawable or anything. You can see how you can access this. Let me show you some heads up here. Like let us say, I'm just using my background, I can say drawable, right? See here, when I say this, it gives me only one icon name, which is IC Launcher. Don't worry about this, I'll explain these terms to you, right? But you can see, there are so many drawable folders, right? There are so many. But you can see here, it gives us to provision to select one thing. Why? Because whenever I select this and give a particular image name, right? So on whatever resolution it is running, Android has got that capability to resolve the image based on the screen resolution itself.
Okay, so we don't mention. We don't have to mention about what size.
No, you don't have to. You just have to take. Exactly. Only thing is, make sure that you are not copying the very heavy image, right? Because it will increase. It will unnecessarily it will increase the APK file size, right? No one will like if APK is more, right? They have to download and set up, right? no one will like,
Yeah.
if your APK is some 20 MB, right? Which means it is taking so much of time to download. So, right, it is heavy, right? That's all.
Right.
So wherever it is
So,
needed, yep.
Yeah, Srinath, just a question.
Sure.
So if you don't have any of the drawable mentioned here,
Uh-huh.
so suppose I just have first two and I won't have the MDPI and XHDPI. So in
That's
that
fine.
case,
That's fine. Nothing will
fine,
happen.
right? Not a
Maybe
problematic.
no. Either you can just have drawable, right? You can create a folder where you can just give your drawable. That's it.
Okay.
Just give everything here. It will take Android will take care of everything. Right? It's very compact.
Okay.
No. Don't have to bother about that.
All right.
Okay. So that is
Yeah.
about your drawable folders.
Okay.
That's what it is now. Now you can see here I just created one drawable, right? You can see here. Let me just copy this file and paste it here. And let me just edit this as maybe ICLA1 something, right? I just saved this, right? So when I go back here, let us say I'm just giving my background. So when I say drawable, right? You can see drawable, and you can see drawable of okay, it just gave one. C underscore LA. Oh, I changed everything. Okay, fine. I should not change that.
Oh, okay. All the names got changed. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Actually, what is happening here is, you understand what is happening? Because this file is same file actually. The pointing to this file is same. That's what happens. That's okay. The pointing file is same. That's why it is just.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, it makes sense to have a file.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me do one thing. Resource in this drawable. Let me copy paste
Some
this
other
again.
name.
Okay. So I just took this. Let me just refresh this folder. Now you can see one more thing, right? Now if you go back,
Right.
now you can see two things.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
It was a single file being copied. So yep, that's fine. Okay. So that is all about your drawable. What you have, right? Drawable folder. What you have over here. Right? Now this is something where we'll know what exactly we can do in our drawable. We can actually create. It is not only for images. You can create your XMLs. You can create your background. So you will see activities, right? You won't ever see your activity being created this simple, right? It won't be just white and it will be so catchy that you'll be having header different all those things are something based on how actually you are creating your background, how actually you are creating your styles on that. That's what happens.
Okay.
It will be not this simple, right? Because just everything starts with a simple activity. And then you can actually grow on, it all depends on your imagination, how beautifully you want to create an activity. That's what happens, right? But we'll see different things, how we can actually do that, right? Yeah, that is one thing. And then layout, the very important folder we have. All the activities, whatever we create, will be created under layout, right? And this layout, we also have one, why are you getting this error? Let me rebuild this. Okay, in this source, something.
It's the file name that we copied.
Okay, that's fine.
The image problem.
R cannot resolve. Okay, there is something in R. Okay, R didn't got created. See, R didn't got. Okay, yeah. Because if something didn't work out, right? It will be why we are getting this. I know that R is not created, but why R is not created? Oh, you can see here, invalid file name. Right? It should be under this. Okay, fine. No, not a problem. Because there should be some convention should be followed here, right? That is what doesn't matter. Right? Let me refresh this once. Clean up and okay. Right? Now you can see.
Okay.
Okay, fine. That's fine. This happens. Okay. So that is in our layout, right? So when we go to R, you can see something called layout here, right? So this is a class where all your activities will be saved. I mean, activity, we call it as memory address will be saved, right? Where what you can do here is you can actually map your layout here with any other layouts. Like let us say, as I said, you have your contacts screen, right? In your contact screen, what you will be doing? You will be doing something called in one contact you have a number, you have a photo of the person, right? You may also see his email ID and everything in one list item of your contact, right? So that is something where you have to. So that complete activity is one view, one activity in which you are using one list view, and in your list view you are using one view item. In that view item you have a separate view where you have a photo section. So many things you can actually club into one. We'll see how to do that, okay? So for those things you have to have something called different layout classes also. That's why they are provided, right? So that you can actually add upon whatever your activity you add, right? It will be added upon directly. You don't have to worry about that, okay? Everything will be maintained by that. You just have to access that. That's a simple thing, right? You can see even drawable got changed. When we change something, it will get changed everything. That's what we were getting previously, that we got an issue that the name was not correct, right? Because you can see it is forming as a variable name, and if I give some gap and just say something, right? Obviously, it is not a correct variable name, right? That's why it will just remove back and give it back to that. That's how it is, right? So that's why in creating activities and all, you should not give gaps and all. Why? Because variable name should always be a single entity, right? That's what you have to keep it in mind. Everything should be in a single way, single shot. Okay? That's why we basically recommend you to use underscore if you want to separate two different words, right? That's I'm talking about activity. I'm not talking about class. Class can be during creation of class. You may follow anything. It may follow Pascal casing or Camel casing, anything, right? So that you can follow your nomenclature. That's fine. Right? So that is about layout, where you can create all your activities in your layout part, right? So from in our future class, whenever we are creating anything, right, it will directly take us to the activity. It will be created in your layout folder, right?
Okay.
That's what happens, right? So that is about layout. Now here we have something called menu, right? This menu is nothing but, now this was my activity, right? So when I click on menu, by default one menu item will open. Here you can see that settings, right? So whenever we create any, this was our first application being created, right? That's why we were able to see the settings. So this settings here menu is nothing but you will be having your name here. You can see there is one item called settings, right?
Okay.
The name will be in a string. Let me show you that. The name was settings. Let me give something else here. Let us say it's my settings. We'll be working on this anyways, don't worry about that. Okay, we'll see how actually we can create a menu for. We'll be watching that somewhere if you're using any Gmail app, right? It will be having its own context menu, right? Of logo, settings, or refresh or something, right? You can create your own. Show you that. So even those things will not be created directly. You have to create some XML file. In that XML, you have to mention each and every item of your menu, and in this each and every item, right? So you have to handle your click action. You see, these are something which you have to do. So those things we'll see when we actually come to menus, right? Now here, if I click on menu, right, now you can see my settings, right? So all the whole list will be, everything will be with us. Only thing is we just have to know where it is. That's the main thing.
Okay.
Everything is being provided, but we have to know where it is. Now you can see here, ID, Android ID is, again you can see that it is under ID section, right? That's what, that is what we were seeing something called action settings. You remember? When I click on this, right, it will take me to ID. Oops, this one take me to ID. It should take me to ID. Okay, doesn't matter. In your R.Java, right, in under IDs, you had one thing. action settings.
Right.
That is nothing but your settings actually. Right? If I remove this part, which means it will be removed. Right?
Okay. So that means you won't get anything on the after clicking on menu button.
Yep. You won't get any menu items. Sometimes you don't want to provide any menus, right? Then you can actually disable your menus, right? We'll be saying much more things in our later, right? That is about the menus. You can create any number of menus. It is not only one. You can create any number of menus for your activities, right?
Alright.
Then the next one is values. So you can see again values is repeating, right? Again, there is something which is a values folder where you can create your styles. You can see styles here. Styles is something where you will be creating all. This is something which is default. Don't worry about this. You can create your styles in the sense all your CSS like background color, faux color, gradient color, right? W box, everything you can create here, right? But everything in Android, right? It can be your styles, dimensions, strings, background, drawbles. Everything will be in XML form, right? Everything will be, even your activity will be in XML form, right? So that is how it reads up everything actually, right? So that's how it goes. That is your styles, and I hope you know about strings here. The strings is nothing but it is something where it is basically used to simplify all the names of different views and controls of activities. If I go to main activity here, right, you can see in my text view, I can see that there is a hello world here, right? It's a text. It is not ID, it is text. You can see here the text field of this is tagged to something else. I can also write hello world here directly. I can just say, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. But you can see it gives a warning. It is just a warning. It is just a warning that always try to use a string. You can see here, hard-coded string should use this, right? That's why you should always create your string. You can see your Android will help you with that. When you go that, it will give you all the strings what you have. Let us say I want hello world. Now if you go to hello world, you can see hello world here. This is something where you give all your strings, right?
Okay, and the strings are next.
That's what it is. If you change it here, if you change your thing here, right, automatically it will put over there.
Okay.
Right? Go back to your activity main and just take it out, and you can see direct effects. Right? That is what it is. Even here, I'm not doing anything. With the simple compilation itself, it is affecting the whole project, and the actual value got populated over here. Right? Right? So that is something which is a strings, and now dimensions. Dimensions is something. See, for every XML, right, there will be at least two different views. One is an XML view, and another will be a graphical view, right? Where if you want to add anything, you can directly add from here, remove from here, anything. And in dimensions, always try to get into your direct XML view, because if you have very good hold on XML view, right, obviously you can always work in UI, right? So always do that. And this dimensions XML is for, let us say you want to define what should be the text box height or text view height, what should be the button width, right? In order to define your dimensions of different views and activities, right, we'll be using something called dimensions XML, right?
Okay.
So that is what is, right? And you have minimal XMLs, we'll see, right? But everything will be resembling this. If you can understand one of them, right, everything else will be same, because this is something which will give you a clear, understanding of all the XMLs in the same way. Right? You can see here my strings is using resources, styles is using resources, dimensions is using everything. We are the same, but only thing is we are classifying in different way. That's it.
Okay.
And you can write everything in a same. Now, if I go to resources here, right? If I search, you can see the dimension is here, the string is here, your style is here, everything is here. Right inside here, you can actually create a same file as a menu. You can do that.
Okay.
But yes, it won't look good, because it's like divide and rule. You have to divide your files, and wherever you want, you can just give that file to corresponding activity. That's how you actually get into that, right? That's a basic thing. That's why I said if you can understand one thing, it will be very easy for you to understand everything, because everything comes from your resources. Right?
Okay.
So that is something which is your values part here. Right? You can create anything here, values part. If you want to differentiate your styles and values for different activities, right? You can do that. But basically, until unless your your Android application is so complex that you have to use, then maybe you can go for that, right? Otherwise, here itself you can create any number of styles or any number of XMLs, right? You can actually tag that to here, right? Okay. So that is something which is your values here. And the next thing, which is very important thing here, is that it goes on, is your manifest file. This is something which is same as our deployment descriptor in our Java. We have something called web.xml in Java, right? In JSP.
Yeah.
Yes, in Java.
Right.
The same thing is this. Android manifest, main manifest.xml is something which acts as a deployment or a main key. So Android operating system will be reading this first, and then it will start the application. Okay, so that is what happens here. So this is something which is like a heart. Now this has got many components. So by default, what it does is it will add your SDK whatever you are actually selecting. If you remember, whenever we created a project, right? Whenever we created a project, we gave something like what is the minimum SDK I want to use and what's the
Right.
Anytime you can change this. Okay, you don't have to worry that you have to give only at one. Yes,
Okay.
if you want to change, you can change it here. This is the only place where you can actually change. Here, what you have to do is you have to give the SDK version. This is not a Android version. Keep in mind, this is something which you are giving SDK. SDK version is different from Android version, right?
Okay, right.
Different SDK versions have got different Android versions. Let me just go. Now you can see API is a SDK version. Corresponding to that, we will be having Android version. As I want to use Android 2.2 to 4.2, that's why I'm taking 8 to 17. If I want, I just want to confine myself with ice cream sandwich, I have to use a 50, which means I have to change my targeted with 50, right?
Yes.
That is what it is. That is a user SDK tag which we have in our manifesto, right? Now here, now this application tag, let me just show you a big picture. Now this application tag is something which is common for all activities. You will be having one application file which can hold multiple activities as such, right? If you are creating any activity here, activity in this application, right, your manifest file will be automatically updated with that activity. I'll create one more activity, don't worry, but I'll show you first how it happens. Now I was talking about something called, if you want to change anytime, if you want to change your icon of your image, of your application, right, you can change. So you have to do that here, right? Here, icon. So this icon is nothing but for the whole application. Whenever you deploy your application in your Android phone, right, you will see some icon with that application, right? If you remember, you can see each and every app will have its own icon. Your Gmail have got that postcard icon. So those things you can actually give over here, right? If you just replace here, everything, each and every activity will be replaced with this. That's what happens, right? And everything is it's a label and theme, right? These are default things. If you want to change, you can actually change them in your style. So when we come to styles and different things, you'll understand that, right? Now, so this is not something which is important. What is important is this part. So under application tag, right, you will be having multiple activity tags or elements. So as we have one activity, so this is one activity. Even in activities, it will be in this way. So this is your simple activity, which is a start and close. And this thing, what you can see is an intent filter. So this intent filter is something, you can see it says that this activity, which is my main activity, is a main launcher activity. This means whenever we try to access this APK, this application, right, the first activity which will be opened is this one. So that thing we have to define here, which is this activity is my main activity and this will be my launcher activity. Now let me create one more activity here. Then you will understand the difference. Let me create other here, Android activity. let me just say something called second. Now you can see everything else. This is something which is layout name, which is my XML name. This activity name is something but my class name, right? This will be my title, right? So just say finish. Now you can see your manifest file. So this is my second activity. You can see here hello world because we have changed the hello world, right? That's why even that got affected even here, right? Doesn't matter. Now here you can see. Yep.
Even the second activity got hello world.
Because it was using the same string. By default, it will insert this one. And for this, we have changed the name to hey hello world, right? That's why it got affected. Right?
So by default it uses only that,
Yeah, by default whenever you create activity, right, this text field will be added automatically. That's why it got.
Okay.
Right,
so we also have other strings,
No. This hello world token is something which will be added whenever you have any activity. Right?
Okay.
That's why this hello world is already there right here. That's why it didn't created one more string token. And it used the same string token to my second activity. Now don't worry, this is something which is auto-generated. You will never be using this anyways, you will be just removing this part, don't worry, okay? But the thing is, once you have this right, it doesn't care about whether this string, this is there or not. If it is not there, it will insert, otherwise it will create it will use a new one, same one. Okay, that is what happens.
Okay.
Okay. Now this, let's go back here. Now you have your application tag. Now you can see there are two different activity types, right? Now you can see here, this is an activity. When we create an activity, you just have to mention here that yes, this is my activity, right? Where my name of activity is this. Until unless you register your activity in this manifest file, right? Your Android will not understand whether it's an activity or some XML. This is very important.
Okay.
And now if you want to make any of this activity as a main activity, launcher activity, maybe you can add this intent filter. Maybe I can change it here, I can add it here, so that my second activity will become my launcher activity. Right? Yeah.
Okay. And then, it's not necessary to add intent filters for every activity.
You should not add actually, because you can have only one intent launcher, right? You can actually have one activity as a launcher activity. So never do that, copy into multiple, it may crash sometimes, okay? That's what happens. So,
but then, if I have 3 activities, any more than 2, and if first is the launcher, then how do we mention for others?
No, you have to connect.
I want the...
See, if you have one page, right? Now you can see here the second activity got invoked, right? I just executed that. Before first activity came up, right? Now we just created one second activity and I gave it as second activity as my intent filter. Now you can see my startup activities is now. Okay, I'll explain you that. Now your question was, if I have more than one activity. Now let me take it this way. Let us say in your web project, right, you have 10 different pages, right? How many pages will be the startup pages? Only one page, am I right?
Right.
One page will be your startup page, and from that page you will connect other pages. Am I right?
Right. Okay.
Right? See,
so we connect it by coding?
Exactly. So all the other Android activities, no, you will never be using this manifest file for connecting. No. You just have to define. But how to connect we'll be doing completely in our coding part. It will never come into picture. Okay, don't worry about that.
Okay.
This only intent filter we are using to mention that yes, this is a launcher activity. That's it. And connecting will be completely done in our coding itself. Don't worry about that. Right?
Okay.
Fine. Any doubts again?
No, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so that is something which is your activity. And yes, there are so many others. Now you can see in your manifest file you have different things, right? Different views actually. It is not view actually. It's something where you can actually see the manifest XML. And now you have something called permissions XML, permissions UI. This permissions UI is something you would have seen whenever you install any app, right? Let us take an example of Gmail app itself, or something else, Play Store app or anything, right? So
Oh.
whenever you try to install, it will give you a initial pop-up that it will try to access your contacts and everything.
Right.
So that is nothing but a permission,
Oh, okay.
right? So those things,
Okay.
until unless you give until unless you add this tag, right, you will never be able to add. I mean, deploy your activity into that. Android will force you to add that, right? Because see,
Alright.
you see, anyone can create any app, right? If I can create some app so that I can correct the whole contacts in some phone, right? So that's what is the trust factor. Whenever you download anything from Play Store, we trust it, right? Because whatever is there in Play Store, right, they will not directly upload into Play Store. That is not allowed, right? That's why they test it. They see whether everything is fine, and then they upload to Play Store. That's what happens. That's why in whatever app you are getting in Play Store, the main apps, right, will be completely safe,
Right.
right? So, and yes, you have to add your permissions. Like there are so many type of permissions, which are user permission. You have direct permission. All we will be checking out these permissions when we come to SQLite, external hard disk, external SD accessing and all, right? We'll be coming to that is something. And also we have some application. This application is same as what we have seen here, right? If you have multiple activities, you can add them and all, right? You can see main activity, second activity, and these attributes are something which are this window is same for this. Okay, that is what it is.
What is that window for?
So this window is for application addition actually. So as I have two activities, right, you can see each node is there for each activity. So when you select any activity, right, corresponding properties will be shown here. So what was the theme name? This is the application, and here you can see when I select something, you can see few things like what was the name and all, right?
Okay.
Fine. So that is about your Android manifest file, and this manifest file should be kept very sensitive, because if anything goes wrong in this manifest file, debugging itself is first thing is difficult in this, right? Debugging in the sense, if anything goes wrong, it will be very tough whether what happened there, right? Yes, you will be using your logcat. I'll explain you what is a logcat, right? Logcat is something again which is very important, right? You can understand these things from logcat itself, but yes, you should maintain your manifest file in a yeah. And in Office, right, always try to, whenever you do any change in manifest file, always try to keep one old version, either by checking into some server or anything, but always try to keep one previous version of your manifest, right? Because it is very tough to get your manifest file will not be this simple. Your manifest file will go into some hundreds of lines, right? As of now, we haven't created anything, right? That's why it's so simple. But it may go to 50 to 100 lines, right? Then the actual problem comes, right?
Okay.
So that is what is your resource file handler. So this is a complete structure of the Android, complete project we have, right? And then we have something called logcat. Now, what is this logcat? Now, this logcat is something, you have console, right? You have a window called problems, right? There are so many windows. I hope you know from where we get these windows, right?
Yeah.
If any window is not visible here, you can just go to window, show view, and if it is not there, go to other. So you will find all the things here, right? You don't have to worry about that, right? Now here, the thing which is important here is something called logcat. Now this logcat is something, if you connect your phone or whatever happens in your virtual emulator or your Android phone, right? Everything will be shown here. Let me just clear up. Let me go back to my emulator. Do something, right? Do click on menu. You see here, something will happen.
Yes.
Whenever you do any task, right? Let me do any task. Something, whatever happens, will be logged here, right? So this will be your main reference to debug your application, right? Whatever you get, all the errors, everything, this will be, you have to follow this. Always see, as we always go with console, if you are actually doing a big programming, right? We always go to console and read in each and every line. So here, yes, console will help you, but mostly if you want to know the internal errors of your phone, then you have to go for your go to your Logcat. Right? I'll show you how we can actually log into Logcat. Right? How we can actually show our own messages into Logcat also. Right? I'll give you that.
Means, I mean, these are, you
Yeah.
can do it manually also?
You can do that. You have something called system.out.println, which will be printed on console, right?
Oh yes.
You remember system.out.println?
Yeah.
In the same way, you have something called logd, which you can use, and you can use that only if you have SDK configured in Eclipse. You can use that so that you can actually, show it here. We'll get into that, okay? When we actually start up, right, we'll see how this works. But this will be very helpful in your Android. And I hope, you will be looking into console, but mostly if you're more interested on, very keen thing, then you'll be going for Logcat, definitely. So that is what happens in Android. So that is about all the architecture which we have and all, right, and how different thing works and all. Okay, so I hope you have got some, as you are actually coding in some Android, right, you'll be getting some things and all, right? So okay, so from next class on we'll start with Android. So our first topic will be layouts. You have to understand layouts first in order to understand remaining things. Okay, why do we use this? Okay. So next class what we'll do, we'll first understand the layouts, right? And then these things, right? These are something which are very easy actually. It will be very catchy, and if you know some HTML part or how we use and like let us say if you have input, we immediately will get into mind that okay, there will be ID, there will be type, there will be like so many height, width and all. So same thing comes here, but only thing will be your each and every attribute will be prefixed with your Android colon. Right? That's it. That's the only thing which we'll be having. But we'll understand first these tags and then we'll move on to the layouts.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So once the layouts are done, then we'll enter into the actual business of widgets, which is very important. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. So that will be all for today, Geeta.
Right.
And what we'll do is today is Sunday. So we'll be meeting on Tuesday again. Okay.
Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tuesday again on same like in between 9:30 to 10. I'll email you the link. Okay. So that you can join and we can have a class. Okay.
Yeah. No problem. Thank you.
Okay then, Geeta. Okay then.
See ya.
I'll see you. Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye.